Hello and welcome back to Liam Doesn't Know Ball. I'm finally here to make my transfer window video. 3 weeks late. So we're moving on with that. Still talking to you from my phone because I have not purchased the USB flash drive to free up some space on my computer. Executive dysfunction is fun, and one thing at a time. So let's talk about the transfer window. Just an overview. It needs to be said we had a lot of restrictions. We did not have the money that we were kind of gambling to get if we made Champions League. And as it has been noted constantly, potentially, and butterfly effect, so we don't know what actually would have happened because we weren't playing well that day. But I mean, we could have parked the bus and gotten the 3 points, or even if, we had basically a goal to play with had it stood. Um, so we were heavily restricted. Our wage bill was ridiculous. We're still over the limit, and even Jacob Ramsey's sale, pure profit, that we weren't able to entirely reinvest because, sorry, my arm's getting tired. As part of a deal with UEFA, basically. So that's really disappointing. Now we are taking on some big wages with Jadon Sancho. I actually kind of want to go through this sort of chronologically. We first signed Marco Bizot, or did we find? Yeah, I believe we signed him first. I've already talked about him quite a bit. I'm going to grade him as a B because he's an upgrade on Robin Olsen. I think he's a perfectly serviceable backup goalkeeper. I was going to say for the League Cups, we're already out of the Carabao Cup. I've already said I don't think that's a big deal, but this is about the transfer window. He's an upgrade on Robin Olsen. Okay, we got an upgrade. Then we brought in Gesand. Um, yeah, he's been playing mostly on the left, I think, but he's like by all the reports, he is a not an inverted winger. He's a right. He's it's, he's strongest on his right, and he plays on the right. I don't know if we're trying to invert him. Apparently, that's not his game. It doesn't really work from what I've heard. And yeah, he's looked bright in spells. When he came on against Brentford, he absolutely injected some pace, some just fight. I think that he's still very much getting used to the role that Emery is asking him to play. Honestly, a lot of times, the more it's anyone under Emery, they take some time to bed in, and they usually have a glow up in their second season. Like Tielemans, he was saying he was frustrated with his lack of game time. Last season, he was supporters and the players' player of the season, even outside the Villa fan base. Lots of talk about how good Tielemans was, and rightfully so. Onana, if he can just stay fit, I think we're going to see a glow up for him. I think he's also another player who's still, even though he's been here a year, somewhat adjusting to what Emery wants from him. But yeah, I think that Gesand, even if he isn't sort of producing a whole, well, he needs to produce. I'm not even going to say that. That was going to be a dumb point. But he's being trusted more than a lot of players we've seen before. With maybe a higher profile. He's very young still, and it just kind of stinks that he's going to be missing against like Chelsea and like Liverpool and stuff again, because of the Africa Cup of Nations. But that's something that's a long way off, basically. I do think it's so hard to tell because he's had such limited minutes, and the play in general has just been so bad. But the thing about that transfer is it basically came from nothing. And from what I've been hearing about others, because again, I haven't gotten much of a chance to see him play, so I can't really give my opinion on him like as an overall picture. I can comment on the individual performances. He, like, the expert for League One was saying like he could be one of those players that like the Big Six or like another club might live to regret not like sort of hijacking the deal. Sorry, my hair is a distraction. Okay, so that was all the business we did prior to deadline day. Deadline day, we brought in Victor Lindelof. Something no one was excited about. And listen, I get it, but I do think it was a bit trending a little too negative. I'm like, well, what the fuck are you expecting? We don't get to make glamour signings right now. Like, yeah, we were in discussion to sign, oh, I can't even remember his name. But a young center back. Well, that would have been a transfer fee. We unfortunately don't have the money for that. Victor Lindelof, you might have a mistake in him, but so does the rest of the frickin' team right now. And he's free. I don't think his wages, well, his wages are going to be a little higher because he was a free transfer, but okay. And he's wildly experienced. I don't like that's not a bad option on the bench. And to play, maybe to give Mings a rest, well, he would probably give more Konsa a rest on the right side, but that'll be good. Okay, Konsa can get a break here and there. And then let's talk about the big ones because Victor Lindelof, not a sexy signing, but cover. So, okay, fine. Jadon Sancho. Now, he is probably the one with the highest ceiling if he can recapture that magic I've already talked about. He was very good at Dortmund. Like, there's a reason he had a lot of hype. If he can accept the coaching from Unai Emery and he can do, and he hasn't had, well, he played 73 minutes in the Carabao Cup and he's looked promising. Maybe give it a week or two and he's putting all the pieces together. I'm willing to hold out hope. He's new, still getting bedded in. But if he can get like double-digit assists, possibly goals, I think that's a successful loan. And if he helps us win the Conference League, perfectly worth covering his wages. Now, the thing that was kind of being discussed in the Villa fan base was, well, if we're going to bring in a left-sided winger, why not just get Jack Grealish back? Because he's on loan away from City anyway. He's on significantly more money. He's on in the £300,000 a week category. Sancho's on 280, or sorry, just 200. We are covering 80% of his salary. Also, I think the relationship between Grealish and like the fans might be a little frayed. Like he said, he'll always be an Aston Villa fan, and I do believe that. He was like FaceTiming Villa fans after, was it against Young Boys or was it after Bayern Munich? After whatever, it must have been Bayern Munich. So he's always going to be a Villa fan, but I think things might be a little frayed. Also, there's that whole never go back thing. So a lot of reasons why it wasn't Grealish. And then Harvey Elliott. He is the one who I am most excited about. I cannot believe, well, I can believe that we pulled that off. But thanks, Newcastle, because they sold Alexander Isak to Liverpool, that pushes Harvey Elliott further down the pecking order for attacking options. And he's got his own career to make. He's a boyhood Liverpool fan, and he's won like pretty much everything at that point with Liverpool. And I think they have a buyback option. I'm not exactly sure of the terms of the contract. That's probably something that'll become more relevant later, just once the buy has become permanent. As of now, it is still a loan. But I think Sancho and Elliott in a World Cup year under a manager who will put his arm around them and help them, if they, Sancho especially, because, Elliott doesn't really have problems with managers. Sancho quite publicly had an issue with Ten Hag, and Ten Hag had an issue with him. So if he's willing to accept that coaching, and by all accounts, he was good. He was fine at Chelsea, didn't cause any problems. And I really hope we give him the Marcus Rashford treatment, just not really putting him out for the media too much. Just keep him away from that. Let him focus on his work. I I think he can be a good option. And, again, they both want to get in that World Cup squad for 2026. So, on the whole, I've kind of rambled without saying a whole lot of tactical insight. I think, considering the limits we had, we were very creative and got some good work done. Now it's just a matter of if we can make it work. Because as of now, we just drew with 10-man Sunderland, who were down to 10 men for an hour. I don't know. I'm waiting to see. I think the January transfer window honestly is going to be more entertaining because that's when you know exactly what you need. It's just a fact. You've played more games. You know what the strengths and weaknesses are in your squad, who's up for it, who's not. And that's when those bigger clubs want to move on people who are not kicking on. I think we could maybe pull something off again. Now, granted, we don't have Champions League. We're not going to be able to probably attract anyone as high profile, but it'll just be interesting to see if we really need to save our bacon and keep ourselves from potentially playing Championship and Champions League. But yeah, I don't know. I thought the transfer window was, underwhelming, but the thing that I will admit that I got very wrong, I thought, oh, we didn't bring in a lot of new players. The chemistry will be there. We're not disrupting anything, and we had a good season. No, it just looks stale. So that's another reason why I'm optimistic about getting Sancho and Elliott more embedded, just freshen it up. Oh, I did want to make a point about the one transfer that I think we kind of mucked up is Enzo Barrenechea. Now, for anyone who's outside the Villa fan base, you might not know where that name came from. He was part of the deal of Juventus getting Douglas Luiz. Sorry, my mom's calling. I'll talk to her later. Douglas Luiz went to Juventus for cash, I think 25 million, and then Samuel Illing Jr. Sorry, I have shoulder issues. Samuel Illing Jr. and Enzo Barrenechea came our way. Illing Jr. went to Ballina the first half of the season last year. Barrenechea went to Valencia, and by all accounts was very good for a team that was like flirting with relegation basically the whole time. I think this season sending him out to Benfica I think they have an obligation to buy. I don't like that. I kind of wish, with how persistently injured Barkley is, no sell-on value. I wish we were getting a little bit more out of him. I think it was like, oh, we'll get Barkley and then we'll sell him and it'll be like a flip and it'll help our finances. From what I've seen thus far when we try and do that, it's not working. So that is the one player I don't know if there's a way to cancel it, and obviously Emery, Monchi, Damian, all the people at the club, they make a shit ton more money than I do because they know these things better. But that is just, from my perspective, the one player I wish we kind of wouldn't have, that the outgoing that I think was a mistake. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say about the transfer window. 3 weeks after the fact, I will probably be making some, I don't know if I'll make any Europa League content. I'm pretty dejected with Aston Villa. I might switch more to a general, just Premier League setup because I am a fan of the league and that's more fun to talk about generally. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. Up the Villa.